What is a construction phase plan? This is amazing because most of the time we think of an overall construction plan, one logistics plan, one team plan, one org chart, one everything, one schedule. But really, the core of a construction project is the phase. A construction project is simply a grouping of phases put together, and it's the base. And if a tact or a tact wagon is the base unit for all of our calculations for production plans, the phase is really the base unit for all of our planning. And so I'm going to show you this on the sketch on this back wall, and I think you're going to really enjoy this because this is how builders visualize phase planning. So stay with us. Okay, so I'm super excited about this. I am going to draw, like I always do, the phase. Let's say there's wagon 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then in a different zone, wagons 1, 2, 3, 4. Then in another zone, wagons 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, zone 1, 2, 3, wagon 1, 2, 3, 4. This always creates this nice parallelogram. Depending on how inverted it is, tells us how fast it's going. When you see a parallelogram, if it's longer, that means it's going slower. If it's more vertical, that means it's going faster. So this is pretty genius. But this is the base unit of how we plan construction projects. The actual tacked wagon is the base unit for how we calculate construction production plans. Okay, so they're two very different things. I've already talked to you about the fact that you can really analyze whether or not you have the proper phase plan by creating the right sequence. And that comes from your pull plan. That sequence, however the trades are packaged in here in a sequence, is identified in the pull plan, and then that pull plan is compared from zone to zone to make sure that we have good flow. And I want to say trade flow. So this is also from the pull plan, but it's mainly from the calculator. And there are other videos on this channel, but I'm talking about the formula tacked wagons plus tacked zones minus 1 multiplied by the tack time equals the duration. Okay, so you can verify how well your phase is flowing with that tool. At the end of every phase, you should have buffers, and you can confirm how many buffers you have with the risk analysis. That is how we do this. Is we do a risk analysis for the phase and we say, oh, there's about 4 days worth of risk. You'd better have 4 days worth of buffers to cover that risk. Otherwise, we're getting ourselves in trouble. And then obviously the start date is determined by the overall master schedule. And I'll just put MS right here. So now you have your framework. And this is what I want to say. This cues us up for some other activities. So this is the base, but now we need to know what to do with it. Now I am going to use red, but don't get tripped up with that, please. When you have a phase, there's a couple things that we need to do. 3 months ahead, we need to perform that pull plan that we talked about. 3 weeks before a wagon, we need to do the pre-con or the preparatory meeting, or pre-install, whatever you call it. The meeting where we prepare the trade to start in that wagon. And then let's just take the same activity. We need to, or get to, align our supply chain. And at the end of this, there should be a bit of a buffer in the supply chain so that we can queue up materials to align with it. And then the last thing that I want to say is when you're in the phase, we're always looking out 6 weeks ahead and a week ahead to do look-ahead planning and weekly work planning. So you'll see that this framework allows you to verify and prepare for the phase. But this is what I want to talk to you about. And I believe that this is really, really cool. Like, just so you know, I nerd out about stuff like this. Let me just explain that for just a second. Knowing how to do RFIs, everybody knows how to do RFIs. Like when you hear Jocko Willink in like a muster or in his book, Extreme Ownership, talk about the laws of combat. Build the team, simplify the mission, prioritize, detach emotionally, and decentralize command. You're like, oh my gosh, that pattern is amazing. I feel different. I feel like I have a greater lease on life and the activities that I'm pursuing. This is one of those things. This visualization is quite amazing. Now, what I want to add to it, let me do one thing here real quick. Like I said, a project is nothing more than a combination of phases. So let's say this is mobilization, foundations, this is your superstructure right here, this is your interiors, this is your exterior, this is your commissioning, right? In this one, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases. All a project is a combination of phases. And so when we look at the framework, this is so good, I'm so excited. When we look at the framework of we need the team, the plan, the resources, right? The environment, and then the culture and the expectations. It's not just for the whole project. It's phase by phase. So let's look at this. For this phase specifically, you know that your team composition might be different when you're in the structural phase versus in the finishing phase. In fact, I'm not saying that I like it or don't like it. I'm not going to weigh in on that. But we've seen general contractors where they have specific structural superintendents and specific finish superintendents. So when you're looking at this phase, what is the org chart? Now, I don't particularly like the hierarchical org chart, but this is like a universal symbol. What team do I have allocated for that phase? In the planning segment, do I have my production plan with buffers, and then my look ahead, and then my weekly work plan from a planning standpoint? Okay, do I have my resources? Do I have the materials, right? And I'm going to do a really fancy sketch. I hope you're all sitting down. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a forklift. That's a perfect sketch of a forklift. Don't make fun of me. Do you have the resources and the materials? Do you have the open space with your grid lines ready to go do the work, right? And do you have the environment, the culture, and the expectations? And I would say the information. You know, when we think about the plan, do we have it for the phase? The logistics plan, do we have it for the phase? The zone maps, do we have it for the phase? Do we have our boards in our conference room set up properly? Do we have it for the phase? Our org chart for the phase, risk analysis for the phase. Everything should be phase-centric. And if you're doing the foundations and concrete work, and you have these things planned with your visuals, and you still have the same visuals when you're on the interiors and exterior, I just don't know that we're phase-centric enough. And so we've got to make sure that we have these specific things for the phase. So you have a good phase plan when you have the sequence, line of balance, buffers, when you're doing the right planning, and when your needs, which I've listed here, and visuals are specific to the phase. And this is the last thing I'll say, to where everybody can see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group together with total participation in the phase. And so I'm going to turn this into a graphic for you and invite you to comment below if you ever need anything. But I love this concept. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the comments. On we go.